All right, so this is the range officer that asked me to leave without warning. He says, Route 66 is the most laid-back, tolerant range I know of, and I do my best to keep it that way, but there's a limit. It's a public range crawling with law enforcement from every agency imaginable. If it sounds like full auto, it is full auto, and you need to have a badge and a paperwork to match. I know how a select fire trigger group works, but I'm not going to check your lower or verify whether it's an FRT or if it has a third pin or not. You can either talk to me about it, or eventually after people like you do enough dumb shit here, we'll all get to talk to the cops about it together. Maybe they'll listen to you explain how you can fire at cyclic rate, but somehow it's still a semi-auto. I was just going to ask you to stop using it until your partner kept shooting while knowing full well I was standing right there. At that point, I decided to ask you to leave for the day instead. You ended up getting yourself banned because you refused to take the L. Too long didn't read. Don't do dumb shit at a public range and risk ruining things for everyone else. Don't be a Karen we try to boot you for it. And definitely don't send a video of yourself shooting full auto to a manager saying, see, I told you it was semi. So yeah, this know-nothing, unsafe range officer believes that it's okay for a range to call law enforcement on its customers because to him, he believes if it sounds like it's full auto, then it is full auto. And he has no duty to check or verify if the person is just shooting fast, if they have an FRT, if they actually have full auto or not. He's just going to call the police just because he can, just because he wants to, because he's a bootlicker. And I also think it's a little funny that he doesn't know how the Karen thing works. Like, I was sitting there doing something completely legal, and he came up like, you need to leave. I'm gonna call the police. That's you being the Karen, dude. I don't know if you know what a Karen is or anything, but you got it backwards. You're the one that's like, oh my God, you can't do that. I'm gonna call the police. How many of y'all think that, like, he was offended that I was there with a lady, and, he was like, oh man, that really handsome guy is like, he's not gay, and that offends me. I think that's really what it is, because his reaction to something, again, that was completely 100% legal, is unwarranted. And he took offense to, I guess, her standing there knowing he was there, but he didn't make, like, any effort to make he didn't say, hey, can you guys hold on for a second? He didn't tap his shoulder, which is what pretty much every range officer is trained to do whenever they see a problem. They're not supposed to just sit back and continue watching. Let's say there was like a safety violation going on, something dangerous, like one shooter pointing the gun at another shooter. He's just going to sit there and watch as the one shooter shoots the other one. And then he's going to pretend like there's a problem. Like, dude, you act immediately if there's an issue. You don't just sit there. And by the way, this is the video that he says is shooting full auto. If you look at the trigger finger, you can see her squeezing each time there's a round coming out. That's not full auto. That's not how full auto works. He says he knows what a select fire works, but I very obviously clearly doesn't. Especially when he says shit like, if it sounds like full auto, then it is. So if it sounds like select fire, then it is select fire, right? That's his own logic. Like, I like how this guy is coping and seething so hard and, like, projecting his insecurities that he doesn't understand that it's him that's the problem. Like, he calls this video right here doing dumb shit. Bear in mind, it's 100% legal in California to have these triggers, to shoot these triggers. He's just offended of the sounds that it's making. He's basically the feelings police for Route 66. He wants to make sure that the other people shooting at their range, the so-called feds 2 bays down, and that's crawling with law enforcement, don't have their fragile feelings hurt. And it also doesn't make sense because, he says he's going to call law enforcement. If law enforcement's already there crawling, why would he have to call them? All right, and here's where he changes his story. This is a good way to catch someone in a lie. So he says that I knew he was standing right behind me. He says that I knew why he was standing right behind me and that I continued to rip off rounds, or sorry, a burst anyways, all while saying it's fine. Nah, homie, it's not fine. And then he goes into, you know, the old trope, the old Marty Robbins meme, there's federal agents 2 bays down. But this last line he says is, it should be the motto for Route 66. We don't need that here, therefore we don't need you here. So if you can just shoot fast, you know, if you're a proficient shooter, you're able to keep rounds on target, and you want to train to be faster, I guess Route 66 doesn't want you there. And that's going by not only the range officers, but the staff 100% completely back up this range officer. They believe everything he says is gold, and that's their standard. They are not reprimanding him. They're not trying to resolve the issue, which is what any good moral people would do if one of their employees stepped out on the line like he did. But I guess he speaks for them now. An employee that's only been there for maybe about a year is now running the show. So if you go to Route 66, like I said, you may have a good time and be unaccosted, but you may run into this guy on a bad day after he's just had a fight with his boyfriend. And, you know, they'll kick you out because he doesn't like the way you shoot, or how fast you shoot, or that you're training better than he ever could, or that you can afford ammo that he can't, or that you can afford triggers that he can't. All in all, something is going on with this guy that he's overcompensating, and it's putting the customers of Route 66 in a bad spot. The most fucked up part is that they're all willing to contact law enforcement and then lie to them about a weapon being fully automatic, all while having no proof or good faith belief that it is full automatic. He completely clearly states that he's not going to bother to check. He's just going to call the cops. Is this the kind of range you want to go to? You know, maybe you have a gun there, or you're bringing a new shooter there that doesn't, you know, have a fully compliant rifle, and neither you know it. Route 66 is going to see that. He's going to see that, and he's going to call the cops on you, and he's going to try and get you arrested for a simple, you know, thing that most other ranges would be like, hey, you know, you can't have a flashlight on that. You need a muzzle brake, or hey, you need a magazine lock on that rifle. Not at Route 66. So yeah, this is, I'm going to be making more videos about this and, you know, exposing Route 66 and how they pretend to be pro 2A, but obviously, as the evidence shows, they are everything but. Awesome. Thanks for watching.